So how do you even know if you want to be a freelancer? I mean, it's kind of a big deal to just make the jump and be like, I hope I like this. Is there a way to try it prior to? Can you kind of dip one toe in the water and see if this is really something you'd be interested? Sure you can. Lucky for you, this is designing the work. So we are going to take freelancing through the design thinking process and give you a chance to see if it's really something you'd be interested in trying. So what's the design thinking process? If you haven't seen it or heard about it, it's kind of been a trend lately. But it's basically a problem-solving method that designers use to solve anything from how do I make this logo the best it can be to how do I make this subway system function for this entire community. My point being is it works for pretty much everything, which is why I think it's a pretty cool tool that we can use today. Okay, so the first step of the design thinking process is to empathize. Empathize is understanding your audience, who they are, where they come from, what their lifestyle looks like, and how they go about their day-to-day. The second step in the process is to define. Define is kind of going through this lifestyle. What are their needs, your audience? What are their problems? What's an issue that you potentially can help them solve? The third step is ideate. Ideate is where you basically brainstorm. You come up with all of these solutions, crazy or not, of ways that you can help solve the problems that you talked about in the define section of this process. My favorite part of the process, and the one we're going to talk about most today, is the fourth step, and that's prototype. Prototyping is taking some of these brainstormed ideas or thoughts and pulling them into an actionable solution. So even if it means you want to build a park so that your audience has a way to recreate, well, build a park out of Legos and see if the actual layout of the park functions. That's a great prototype. And then the final step is to test it. So once you've built this prototype and you've got kind of a working model, a loose working model, test what that looks like and test if it works. Okay, cool, Sam, what does that have to do with freelancing? Well, let me tell you, everything. Most of you, either you are freelancing or you have a full-time job and you want to become a full-time freelancer or somewhere in between, and all of those steps are awesome. I started as a full-time designer and then I kind of worked my way into being a freelancer. But let's talk about what that process looks like and how I really knew that this is what I wanted to do. Because like I said, it's a big deal to make this jump. So if you're not ready, that's kind of scary. As we talked about, let's go through this process. Empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Okay, so empathize. When you're a freelancer, who is your audience? What product are you making? So for me, I'm a designer. So I work with a lot of companies and helping them strategize how design can help better their business, help grow revenue, and help get their message to a wider audience. Is there an audience for what you do? If you make quilts, do you understand who your quilt buyer is? Do you know where to reach them? Do you know what kind of quilts they like? Do you know what colors are their favorites? Really empathize with your audience and figure out what it is they're looking for. So then define. Okay, what is it within that that you are good at and you are going to really go after? So another instance of my business, I am a calligrapher. As you know, a lot of you have seen these videos. Thank you for watching. I have found that in that realm, I've empathized with my customers, and a lot of them are people who are getting married and their needs are invites or day of signage or those types of things. So then I can define and say, okay, I'm going to offer day of signage. I'm going to offer invites. There, all of a sudden I see they have a need and I can solve that need. Okay, now the next stage is ideate. Now, how can I be creative about making myself stand out in the marketplace of all of the hand letters that do day of signage? Well, I don't know, maybe it's doing a YouTube video. Maybe it's teaching workshops that help people learn to do it on their own. And then all of a sudden you become a thought leader in it, but you also are top of mind when somebody needs a sign and they don't want to do it themselves. That is where you can become really creative in how you can A, bring your work to the market, and B, differentiate yourself from everybody else in the market. Now this is the fun part. So for those of you that are like, I'm not quite sure if freelancing is for me, well, the good news is you don't have to completely quit your job and just do it. You can try this. So I think I've been here. I think any freelancer that does this full time has also been there. So in the prototyping stage, get one client, that's it. Keep your full-time job. It's a really smart idea because you still need to pay the bills. Get a client. And if you are, you know, you want to have your own cake business, introduce yourself to somebody you meet that's getting married and say, hey, I'm brand new to this, but I'd love to give you a pretty good deal because I'm trying to start this business. I'd love to bake the cake for your wedding. You know, that might be a little bit of a stretch unless you're a super awesome cake baker, which I'm sure you are. There you go. So you have one client. Now you can go through the entire process with this one client. Prior to doing that, really prototype what that's gonna look like. So you go find your client. Okay, great. How are you going to tell them what it is you do? And how are you going to make them understand that you are the best option for them? Beyond that, how much are you going to charge? How are you going to write a contract? Do you get money up front or at the end? How are you going to get paid? All of these things need to be considered, but this is the cool part. It's all part of the process and it's learning. You're going through it as you're going through this process. Once you get your client, then you move into this test phase. Go test out what you've just thought about. Go test out all of this prototype that you came up with and see if you like this. If you really love baking cakes, but you really hate getting contracts and getting paid and finding clients and all of that, I hear you. That's tough. But here's part of the deal. When you're a freelancer, you have to wear every hat in the closet because unfortunately, when you're first starting out, you probably don't have unlimited funds that you can hire an accountant, a business development person, all of those really great things that maybe one day down the road you can. Now it's you. So the good news is you can try this. And if you don't like it, no harm, no foul. Remember, you still have your full-time job. Have grace with yourself. If you do this and it turns out freelancing is not for you, well, good for you. You figured it out. That's a great thing. And you don't have to go into this saying, I'm going to succeed. I'm going to love this. This is going to be my passion. No, that's the beauty of the design thinking process. It's all about learning, testing, trying, and if it doesn't work, you can start back at the very first step and do it again. So give it a try. Let me know what you think. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this one, because getting to be a full-time freelancer, that in and of itself is a process. It takes time. For me, I would work my full-time job all day and then I would go home at night and continue to build up my freelance clientele until all of a sudden I realized this could work. I'm starting to build up enough that my income from my freelance is starting to equal or get very close to my salary from my full-time job. And all that was me trying this process over and over and over again. And guess what? I'm still doing it. I'm still refining my process. I'm still prototyping new ideas of how I can bring myself to the market. I'm still testing new ways that work, conversations with clients, all of that. So the good news is this isn't a one and done. It's a continued process. So good luck out there. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'm so excited to hear them. Thank you again for watching and please subscribe so that you can stay tuned as we continue to learn together.